Hi, my name is Clinton Kirkpatrick, and I am an artist based in Belfast. I am going to take you through a sort of typical day in my life. So we're going to leave the house today, take you over to my studio, which is a little bit out of the city now, and sort of show you what I get up to on a sort of like daily routine. My life over like the last 10 years has really been split between community work and studio work. And I'm fortunate to say that I've managed to keep the self-employed cogs turning, and I really enjoy my time, and I really enjoy working with other people, and I really enjoy getting to create and getting to communicate the different kind of messages that are important to me, back through my work. So I'm going to talk you through a little bit of those today. I think what I'd like to do is, just give you a little bit of a brief introduction to who I am as an artist, who I am as a person, typically my thinking, what I do in the studio whenever I go there. And then even what I kind of finish my day with, because I get home then and I draw at night. So I sort of make dinner and draw at night, but we'll get to that later on. So what to say? I hope you enjoy kind of like the next, little bit of time that we're going to share together. I will try to make it interesting, try to make it enjoyable, and try to, give you a little bit of insight into my world. I have lived in East Belfast now for about 5 years. I love it here. It is the best part of the city that I've ever lived in, and I've lived in most parts. My kind of weeks are generally like I said, split between the different bits of community work, and I work a lot down in Seacourt in Bangor, and then take on other projects like with EastSide Arts, or whatever work may come my way. Yes, so welcome to my world. I hope you enjoy today. I'm just going to sort of spend the day with you recording little bits and pieces and show you, show you my life. So here we go. Welcome to my studio. Okay, so I am going to give you a little bit of a walk through the studio and sort of show you where I work and kind of what that looks like. I've been in the studio for just over 3 years now. Prior to being here, I was working in my house, but trying to work on a space of wall that was about 6 feet wide was quite difficult. So then I kind of looked, for somewhere. Couldn't find anywhere appropriate in Belfast. And then somebody told me about this sort of space out here. The studio's just out past Carryduff, so it's about 15 minutes from where I live. So it's still pretty handy, easy access. And for the first time in my life, I've actually got, space to work and room to breathe. And my work has like a lot of room to breathe as well, which I think is very important, very, very important as an artist. So I love it. I love this studio. It's my favorite studio that I've ever had. I'm happy here. I'm working here. The studio is busy, you know. So, yeah, so this area up here is kind of like a little bit of a dumping ground, as you can see. There's all kind of like cardboard and, you know, stretchers. There's lots of finished paintings sort of sitting around and stacked. Materials. Some books. I have a lot more books at home, but I kind of tend to bring books in and out of the studio that I'm using or looking at the time. So, yeah, so there's a whole box of drawings in there and sort of paintings just sitting around. Some half finished things. Lots of finished work that I'll talk you through later on, or I'll talk you through some of it later on. And then this is really, you know, this area over here I use for kind of like normally computer admin, get in the morning and sit and do that, and then drawing and stuff over here. But this is really my kind of workspace with regard to the painting. And, you know, the other day I was kind of making all these collage pieces. So yeah, so I kind of work in these sort of two stations where my palettes are. And then I kind of move around this whole kind of space, and there you go. This is kind of like a little bit of an initial look. So yes, what I will do is talk you through some of the work later on. I think what I would like to do is, you know, talk you through some of my thinking, some of my history perhaps, and give a little bit of context as to where I've come from and why I make the work that I make. So I wanted to give a few minutes over to, you know, giving you a little bit of kind of a brief history of me, my life, kind of what I'm interested in, because I think it's all, you know, everything about my life and everything about my experiences kind of all feed into my work and feed into kind of my way of thinking, and have kind of led me to this point today. So I kind of, you know, started out, you know, I lived about 20 minutes from Belfast as a child. Then I went to school in Lisburn and college in Lisburn, and then after that I went to college to begin studying art full time, because my interest growing up was always in the arts, but in music as well. So I ended up leaving school at 16 to go to college to study art and design. Then I went and did my foundation diploma up in Limavady, and then, you know, after kind of being 18, 19, I was really ready to start to explore the world a little bit more. So I decided to go and study in England, and I did a painting and drawing degree over at the University of Huddersfield, which is sort of just above Manchester, below Leeds, in Yorkshire. And yes, I did first year, but I knew at that time that I was really curious, much more curious than what I'd ever been before. I was restless. I didn't kind of, you know, feel as though I knew that I wanted to be doing the degree that I was doing, but I also knew that I wanted some time out from it. So I decided to kind of defer my study, and I ended up going to Australia and New Zealand. I kind of saved up some money and cleared off and went and had a bit of a party for kind of a year and 8 months, and then I was kind of really ready to kind of return to England and return to study and return to my my degree. So I really enjoyed my degree. I put into my degree a lot of work. I got out of it. I got a lot out of it. You know, I got to go wonderfully to places like Singapore and to Seoul in South Korea, as sort of scholarships that were awarded. So that was fascinating, and I think all of that sort of fed into, you know, my, you know, this real desire was born to see other parts of the world and to experience other parts of culture. I started to become really, really interested in those other pieces that were so different to anything that I knew at home. So at university, the investigation begins. And what are you interested in as an artist? What do you want to have a conversation about? And I remember at the time I was really, really interested in the media. I was interested in stories that occur in the media and how the media represents stories, how it manipulates stories, how certain stories get more precedence than others. There's a lot of this kind of like investigation for me about, what the media, the power of the media, and what role the media has within society. And at that time, it was the Madeleine McCann story was absolutely huge, right in the middle of her going missing. And I remember making a lot of work about that, and questioning that, and questioning that individual story. So that was kind of my interest, beginning of my interest in looking at people, looking at systems, looking at how things operate. And over the years, it has just been, constantly developing and constantly evolving. And I'm really interested in the human, fundamentally. I'm really interested in the human. I'm really interested in how we operate. I'm really interested in kind of how we operate individually. So I'm interested in my own perception of things, my own involvement in things, my own place within things. But I am, compelled by the idea of society and how things are put in place to guide or to manipulate or to control. So I look a lot at kind of systems, and I look a lot at things like religion or politics, and all of those systems that are in place that are essentially about mass control and mass manipulation. So my work over the years is kind of it's quite figurative now. A lot of I'm really interested in kind of like depicting forms that are recognizable. There are some of my paintings, I'll show you one later, that are a little more abstract but still lift from the human, or certain qualities. So I'm interested in the human. I'm interested in storytelling. I'm interested in mythology. I'm interested in the absurd. And there's a lot of absurdity in my work. A lot of strangeness, a lot of kind of, these odd pieces that, normally wouldn't sit side by side. But for me, it's a reflection of the world that I live in and that we live in. It's just quite uncertain at times. There's a lot of bizarre things that go on, a lot of things that are misunderstood. And I like that mix. I like things that are recognizable but simultaneously strange. I became really interested in the idea of the other. That interest, that intrigue really grew from 9 years ago now, whenever I first went to Kenya in East Africa. So I've always been interested in the human. I've always been interested in other people's stories. I've always been interested in other types of culture. I went originally to kind of do a volunteer program in Kenya, and I went to work with HIV and AIDS awareness. So I was placed into the program, which was about 2 hours northwest of Nairobi, and I began this incredible relationship with the place and with the people. And then I started, I went originally to detach myself from home. I'm not going to the ins and outs, but I had this year in my life that was just full of ups and downs and deaths and violence and car crashes and terrible relationships. It was kind of this this period in my life where I just really wanted to kind of detach from. And by going away to do other work that wasn't my art, that wasn't my general life, it really allowed for this space to open up within my mind and within my entire sense of self. Because by going to somewhere like Kenya, which is, was so out of the ordinary, I was able to start to see and piece together a world that was much more authentic, much more true. I was able to start to see myself in a space in a much more authentic way. I was questioning myself in ways that I have never questioned myself before. I was questioning my role as a white man. It was just really interesting, getting to experience that, space where things are so different to what you know as an individual. So what happened then was this incredible relationship grew with me and with Kenya, and I started kind of like coming home and making a lot of work. But even when I was there, I was making work. But I started this relationship where I was like making work in response to the people, to the landscape, to myself as a white person within a black society. All of this work started to really emerge, and it felt really natural to me. It felt really important to me. And even though I was sort of, naive when it came to the idea of, what it was to be a white man in that space, I think fundamentally, it was a very, very, very important time of my life, because it has allowed for this greater understanding of, humanity, and this greater understanding of the self. And it's been a really, really interesting journey. So I was in and out of the country making work. So I would come home, make work. I went back because I really just felt compelled to go back. I went back and I made work, and I, lived as an artist this time. I wasn't within like a volunteer. I did do volunteer work, but I didn't go as a volunteer. I went as an artist. I went to experience a place as an artist for a few months. And that was a remarkable, conflicted journey. It was full of tension, it was full of uncertainty, and it was also full of greatness. So then I came home and I made a lot more work, and I went back and I had an exhibition there in 2014, and then I went back in 2016 to undertake some other research, and I went back in 2018 and had a second exhibition over there. And then I took my mum last year to kind of show her a piece of that piece of my life. But I think what I'm trying to say is, that was the beginning of, that period of time really solidified my interest in the world. It solidified my interest in the human. It solidified my interest in the absurd. It solidified my interest in how I consider systems, how I consider the way other people live. And it's been a great time. So I wanted to talk you through some of this new work that is on the go. A few of these paintings are nearing completion, but the ideas behind them sort of stem from looking at the human and different types of personality, perhaps different types of like personality disorders. A couple of years, 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, I was sort of like experiencing all of these different types of personality in the world that I'd never experienced before, and I kind of felt like I wanted to have a conversation with that. So they're exploring different elements of different experiences. And yeah, so this one is called bile fountain, and it depicts these two characters that are now kind of placed in this, almost they're contained within this space here, but they're statuesque, and they're kind of spewing these fountains of bile out of their mouths. I just painted a little. Began to paint a little pigeon in there the other day. This one is called Under the Red Sun. Originally it was going to be called the U-turner. It was depicting this character kind of walking in a direction, and then their whole body is kind of starting to turn back on itself. And I have a bit of problem solving to do with the, I have the twist to actually get into the body in this section, but I've been working on getting the painting structurally in, so now I'm going to kind of finish that off. This painting is depicting a kind of quite a cartoonish, larger than life character pouring. He's going to be pouring something out of this bottle into this mouth, and this character is obviously dead, and it is called The Poisoner. And this one is called Fool's Gold, and it is depicting a black character balancing on his tiptoes on these very tall, spindly columns of money. It will be, it'll be sort of more like money whenever it's finished. Yeah, so that's kind of, that's sort of the work, I kind of like think through, I get the image in, and then I really sort of like push and pull the painting and try to problem solve it and work it all out. So there's a few of these I'm quite happy with, and yeah, so it's good, feels good. So these are some of my drawings. I made these there the other day, and then these are some of my kind of like collage pieces. It's been years since I made collage pieces, absolute years and years. But I really like these, so I have all of these other kind of drawings done on like paper and on tissue paper, and I decided I really wanted to try and do something with them, so I started making these collages, and I really love them. So I was drawing, I stuck all these different kind of like bits of tissue down, and then I was drawing with ink over the top. So these pyramids are entering into my work. I'm looking a lot at the minute at kind of like Egyptians and that kind of period of time, and fascinating kind of period of time. And almost these characters are almost like hieroglyphic or something. And I kind of like the way that they can potentially be, this is like almost like a puzzle. These characters can kind of, be stacked or be arranged in some way, to kind of build the image. But this was made in relation to kind of this idea of like supporting each other, and all of these different. So it's a very quick beginning of an idea, So, and then this is the first time that I've ever introduced text into my painting. I keep this book, where is it? I keep this book up here. Well, this one's finished. The second one is in my bag now. And I write all of these phrases down, and I write a lot of thoughts down, ideas, or, so it's a mixture of kind of my thinking, but it's a mixture of things that I hear, things that spark my interest, whether it's reading a book or watching a TV show or listening to music or whatever the thought is, whatever the phrase is that kind of jars with me or resonates with me, I write it down. And this is the first time that I've ever kind of like decided. So I had not started this, and I just started kind of like painting in this text, and that was the first phrase that I decided to choose. You weren't believable as a human. And then as I started to make like this, so I was like interested in pairing the words with an image. So I kind of started painting this kind of like alien character, but then gradually it started to become more and more like reminiscent of Donald Trump. So the character now is going to be Donald Trump's not quite finished yet, but yeah, so these are going to like be pieced together into one painting really. I'm wondering, should I maybe read you a couple of pages? Let me show you this book quickly. So this is kind of what it looks like. I just write all of this text down. You know, sure. And you know, it's a really interesting. So I wonder, shall I read some? I'll read some to you quickly. So I'll read these 2 pages. She's a shadow. I've just randomly opened this, by the way, and none of it makes sense. It's not about it making sense. It's about collecting, and it's about documenting somewhere all of the things that I find interesting. It also doesn't necessarily relate to me. Some of it is personal, some of it is not personal, but I like the fact that that will never ever be understood in a way. So she's a shadow, and you'll never fully see her or grasp her. Come out from the darkness. Because she was damaged, she was able to reach out to others who were damaged. The hunger for personality. Worship the celebrity. Exhibition of dying cut flowers. Huge traumas fade into history. Can't beat the competition because they just keep moving the line. All the light had drained from me. Regardless, all symbols exist. A tapestry of experiences. A symbol of strength and love. You are the glue. It's no coincidence that dog spelt backwards is God. Dreams die first. Successfully lived outside the box. People aren't sure that they actually exist. God wants you to sit on people's faces. Society was designed to suppress you. You are suppressed by society. Make the Yuletide gay. God is a dog. So kind of just this like random, you know, string of words, and yeah. And now it's starting to feed into my work. Okay, so I'm going to get stuck into a new painting today to kind of like show you a little bit of my process. This is the already kind of prepared. It's about 1 meter by 80 centimeters. And last week I put this really very quick wash of yellow on the top and this quick wash of blue on the bottom, by way of kind of introducing just a little bit of color and texture into the background. So I tend to draw quite a lot. And this painting is going to be a representation of this drawing, which I did on the iPad the other week as well. So I'm just going to kind of set up a time lapse and show you kind of the process of me getting started and getting working on a painting. And really everything that you see here starts like this, you know, it's sort of like washes of color, and then I introduce the image, and then it's this real kind of push and pull, you know, scenario, taking out, putting back in, and understanding the painting, and understanding how to read the painting, understanding how to paint the painting. You know, there's so much goes into the problem solving of these, and yes, anyway, so enjoy. Hopefully the time lapse will work fine and you'll get to see it kind of like emerge. Obviously it'll not be finished today, but it certainly will get a good start. So I'll time lapse it for a little bit, show you a little bit of the process, and then we'll go from there. It's mid-afternoon and I've just finished some painting and I'm going to get stuck into some collage now. Collage and drawing. So all of the drawings that I kind of made the other day, I'm going to start to piece those into like larger images that are about 80 centimeters or 70 centimeters by 100 centimeters. So yeah, so I kind of like mix and match and assemble the images really, and then I use ink to kind of draw over the top. So I'm going to do another quick time lapse and kind of show you that process, and then I'll take you through some of my finished work sitting over here. So, okay. So these are the two finished collage pieces that that I just made there now. So I've made them up of like, you know, lots of different pieces of drawing that I did the other day, and they're made up with both kind of like cyanotype drawings, and then if you can see there with the black, I've gone over them then just to finish them off by a little bit of other drawing with black ink over the top. So listen, I'm going to take the opportunity now to talk you through a couple of my most recent finished paintings. Just kind of show you some finished work, what that looks like. And yeah, then that'll be it. We'll be kind of wrapping up in the studio for the day. And cool, so here we go. Now, this painting here is called Assemble at the Meeting Ground, and it's about 100 centimeters by 80 centimeters. The paint that I use is oil paint. It's my favorite type of paint. I really love the qualities. I love what you can do with oil paint, and I'm really starting to kind of like learn, you know, more about how to manipulate it and how to use it. But this painting started, there's a smaller painting which was called Meeting Ground, and it began with, you know, lots of different body parts making up the piece of the work, and I wanted to make a larger painting reminiscent of that. But as I started to make this larger painting, it became more and more obscure. The body parts became more and more obscure. I mean, there's little pieces like eyes, or there's shapes in here that resemble arms or legs. But as I was kind of starting, you know, to develop the painting, it just became more and more abstracted. So I really kind of like adopted that into the exploration, and it ended up with this finished result here, which I really like. So these two paintings kind of sit side by side with each other. However, the first painting was this one, which is called Watching an Exploding Star. And it depicts this character lying on his back, watching this beautiful exploding expanse of colour that is above him. But as I was making that piece of work, I started to think to myself, well, it's almost like, you know, all of this is like, you know, indicating direction, you know, that it's kind of like moving away from this central kind of space. And then I was like thinking to myself, well, what would it look like if everything just became so much closer to him and started to consume him? So this piece here is called Consumed by an Exploding Star, and it has sort of like the same character still lying in the same position, still watching, but all of a sudden he is becoming the star. So this painting is called Narcissus, and originally I was kind of looking through some work of Caravaggio, and I came across a painting called Narcissus, and it depicted this character looking into this pool of water. So then I researched the myth behind it, behind the what I was seeing, and it turned out that it was about this character who was so compelled, or so, you know, fell so deeply in love with his own reflection, that eventually he died, or he stayed there so long that he turned into a flower, a white and gold flower, which is the narcissus or the daffodil as we know it today. So I kind of wanted to make a painting that kind of like was reminiscent of the Caravaggio painting because I was so in love with the shapes that were in that painting. Now, you would be here all day if I was going to start pulling out every single painting that I've finished. So I'll just give you a little bit of a walk around some of these other pieces. I really love this painting. Concealed bird. There's somebody's head that's half decapitated. There's a couple of legs with a rainbow. You know, so you get the kind of gist of my work. This piece is called Slug and the Human. The slug motif kind of enters into my work quite a lot, and this is a painting that is nearly finished. I think I'm going to change the color of this character, but I haven't quite decided yet. But yeah, I've hung it up there to kind of make some decisions. But anyway, yeah, so I've lots of other kind of finished work around here, and you know, it's just busy. You know, I'm busy generally in the studio. So that's it. I hope that gives you a little bit of an introduction to my work in the studio, what I do in the studio, what my finished work looks like, and of course you can kind of see lots more on my website as well. So I'm going to wrap it up here in the studio today, and I'll just finish off maybe with a few words at home, and then that will be the end of a day with me. So I'll talk to you later on whenever I get back to the house. Good evening. I'm back at the house, and I'm just about to really sit down and crack on with some drawings. So normally I get home around dinner time, and then I'll take a little bit of time to make dinner and do whatever kind of chores need done, and then I sort of sit down for the evening and I do some more drawing before I go to bed. But welcome to my living room. So I like my plants, as you can see, also my books, but yeah, so I kind of would sit down normally in the evening and use like the iPad, draw on the iPad with like the Apple Pencil, and I use an application called Procreate, and then I kind of like make all of these drawings. So yeah, so they're kind of like, you know, there's a lot of drawings, a lot of ideas. A lot of bits and pieces of thought in there, but yeah, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy that kind of, you know, it's like a sketchbook to me. All of this is like there's sketches, and then I'll take some or leave others, and you know, but it's nice. It's a nice kind of collection. I've been drawing every day now for like this for 4 years. This is my 4th year of drawing every day, and it's amazing kind of that collection of ideas and that collection of imagery that you know, that has happened over that kind of time. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of images. So yeah, anyway, so I'll finish off with kind of a few thoughts in a little bit, and then that'll be it. All right. So that is it. I would like to say a big thank you for watching, for taking the time to learn a little bit about me as an artist and about my practice. So I hope it's been interesting or useful in some way. It's been really great for me to do. You know, it's, you know, you're always kind of like thinking privately through your process. So having to kind of speak it out loud or, show it in a different way to people has been really interesting for me. So you can find out lots more information about my work at my website, which is clintonkirkpatrick.com, or you can find me on Instagram, which is Clinton_Kirkpatrick_artist. And so thank you very much. Thank you for spending this time with me, and all the best. Goodbye.